everybody, and welcome to a brand new midweek episode of the
Geek Buddies.
Hey! We're back at it today to talk some DC news, talk some teaser trailer news from MOANA, and get into two reviews for the most recent Derry, Welcome to Derry series and Pluribus. So Pluribus has quickly become a favorite series of ours. We don't usually veer out of the geek world too much, but this one is absolutely tickling our fancy. So we're going to be talking about it later on in the show. But let's introduce ourselves first. I am John Rocha, writer, producer, and host here on the Geek Buddies.
I am Michael Vogel, writer, producer of animated TV shows and movies and video games, and fresh back from New York City and exhausted.
Shannon.
And this is Shannon McClung. I'm an animation writer, a television actor, and as of tomorrow, a feature film actor because of that new job I got.
Is that beard for the feature film? Is that perfectly grown for that? I love it. I can't wait to see
it. It's real nasty up close right now. It's all itchy and scraggly.
Come here, lady. Yeah, I'm sure. But yeah, let's get into things because we don't have a lot of time. We're on a bit of a time crunch here, so let's jump in.
Come here, lady. What was that?
I'm gonna rub my beard on your face. You know how it is. Anyway, let's get into this thing. Let's jump into DC right off the bat. Here's been a bit of news that has popped off over the last few days, and I got to get you guys' thoughts on what is happening here. This comes to us from, I think, Nexus Point News, who pointed this out. This is what they said per their site. A new female hero is being cast in Man of Tomorrow. She's described as being in her late 20s and having an edge to her. What's interesting is there's a height requirement for this character, and they're looking for taller actresses in addition to the character. In addition to the characters being described as being a warrior and having a strong physique, all details point to this character being Wonder Woman. However, other people have chimed in and said this could be Big Barda. Just because he's not doing Darkseid, it doesn't mean he can't do characters connected to Apocalypse. So, Michael, you read this description, you hear this description. Are you thinking Wonder Woman? Is Wonder Woman is Man of Tomorrow where they're going to launch Wonder Woman? Or does Big Barda seem more logical? Or is this something else?
My first thought is, if you are listening to the podcast and you can't see the graphic that Johnny put up, it's great because it really looks like Wonder Woman is pissed at James Gunn. She did not like that Peacemaker season 2 finale, and she is making her opinion known. I think it's not one. This is an impossible thing to tell, but I think that when it gets to Wonder Woman, we are also anxious for Wonder Woman news. And most, like 95% of that description, you go, yeah, that could be Wonder Woman. She has an edge to her.
Yeah.
Makes me, in a world where James Gunn has gone out of his way to lean into the kinder, gentler parts of Superman, it feels like Wonder Woman would kind of fall into that same category. Not that she is not going to be an Amazon warrior, not that Wonder Woman has a very different code than Superman does, but that has an edge to her. My initial thought was more Big Barda than Wonder Woman, but there's also Giganta. Like if you're going to do, if you're doing Salvation Run and you're going to have a bunch of villains, like in the big scheme of things, there are several female characters, many villains in the DC universe that this category, this character description could fit. I would love it to be Wonder Woman. Like, do I think it would be awesome if Wonder Woman showed up in Man of Tomorrow? I'm super down. The sooner we get a new Wonder Woman and get off to the races with that character, the better. I think she's the one that gets the shortest shrift when it comes to relaunching a DC universe. Superman and Batman always get trotted out first.
Yeah.
But my gut says it's not her.
Okay. Shannon, what do you think? I mean, because if it was her, this would be very similar to Zack Snyder's DC universe where they launched Wonder Woman in BVS. So he's already, kind of dealt with some comparisons in how he's doing things to Snyder stuff. So what are your thoughts on this? Who do you think this could be?
Big Barda is the character that I thought of, but I also thought if you're going to introduce Big Barda without introducing other aspects of Apocalypse, Mr. Miracle, but then you also have those rumors, and granted they're rumors, they might not mean anything, that like Peacemaker's helmets are like Orion's helmets. So it's like, I guess there is kind of that connection there, but I mean, there are other characters it could be. I mean, despite despite the fact that they're saying that there's a height requirement, another character when I think someone with an edge is I think Black Canary. Do you?
Oh, interesting. Okay.
6-foot tall Black Canary? Not necessarily, but if you 6'4" Superman, if you don't want a performer who's like 5'7", 5'8", I mean, it's like you get that. Like you want your Superman is obviously going to be one of your larger superheroes, but you don't want. I don't know if you want to go that short in between, the two heroes. But Wonder Woman, it's tough because that was my initial thought as well, John. Well, this is very similar.
Yeah.
He was introduced in Batman v Superman. And you can argue to the success, but what you can argue the success is the success of the Wonder Woman movie that followed. And that was one of the most revered films of this previous DC iteration. I don't think it's Big Barda, but I also don't think it's Wonder Woman. I think it's somebody else.
Why do you think not Big Barda?
I feel like I feel like introducing Big Barda without going more into Apocalypse just doesn't work in my head. And like, I can't think of a Big Barda Brainiac connection.
And isn't there a Mr. Miracle animated series coming? So
there is.
Will this be like, isn't everything supposed to be connected and canon and all of this kind of stuff? So
not necessarily. I mean, my adventures with Superman and my adventures with Green Lantern are not. DC Animation is, I think they had a hard time at first where it was like everything is connected, but I think as they've been moving forward, some stuff is canon, some stuff is not. It's the whole, we can do Elseworlds things, we can do other things, which I think is fair. I'll give you an argument for Big Barda.
Okay.
And then I'll tell you why it's probably neither of them. But I do think that like Big Barda, just because James Gunn came out and said, I'm not making Darkseid the big bad of the DC universe, I'm not going to do that because Zack Snyder already did and everybody's expecting me to do that, does not mean that all of Apocalypse and the New Gods are off the table.
Right.
Like you could have Calibac show up, you can have Orion show up, and they are all from space and these planets and stuff is happening. And there's no reason that you couldn't do that just because you're not doing it's all leading to Darkseid.
Right.
And given James Gunn's choices of characters that he's used in Marvel and other properties, him pulling an obscure New Gods character and saying, yeah, they're showing up. It's an easy thing to say. Big Barda, who is big and badass and an alien and as tough as Superman, was trapped in Brainiac's ship along with all the other alien races that he has locked up. And when Superman frees her, she rages on that ship and blows everything. Like there's a lot of ways that you can fit New Gods characters in without going down that road. That being said, by the same token that James Gunn chooses obscure characters, chances are it's neither of them, and it's going to be somebody that he liked in a comic in 1962 that was in one issue of a Superman thing. Like he's, if you had heard 2 years ago, I mean, before they announced who it was, if you said, oh, there's going to be 3 Justice League members in the new Superman movie. Yeah, we would have been on this podcast talking about, is this how he introduces Wonder Woman? Which version of the Flash is it going to be? We would never have said it's Guy Gardner, Hawkgirl, and Mr. Terrific. Those would not have been our choices. So I think we're in the similar boat here. But I think the good thing about all this news is everybody clearly is ready for Wonder Woman. If I was DC, I'd be like, we need to figure this out now.
Yeah, I don't think you'd have that kind of reaction to it unless people are ready for it. One more, he did clarify the Jimmy Olsen thing, said there was never a DC crime. That was not the title they were going with. And he also clarified the Dr. Fate rumor, saying, I never heard that, because Pierce Brosnan had said this week that Dr. Fate was supposed to show up in the new DC universe, and James Gunn said. But those are ancillary to what the next thing I want to bring up before we leave the James Gunn situation. He also posted this, the Wonder Twins, the Alex Ross art of the Wonder Twins with just the picture, no real caption to it. And a lot of people are talking now, is he revitalizing or bringing back the project that KJ Apa and Isabel May were set to feature in, a Wonder Twins project at HBO. The movie was pulled from the slate more than 3 years ago, but is it now back in play? Shannon, you see him posting the Wonder Twins. Is he just fucking around with us, or is this legitimately something he is teasing to possibly bring into his Superman saga? Because most of us grew up with the Wonder Twins on the Super Friends.
I think the Wonder Twins being a Man of Tomorrow sounds like more of a distinct possibility than Wonder Woman. Yeah, I mean, I don't. Does James Gunn troll the fans, like putting up characters that don't show up? I don't feel like he does that. I mean, I feel like he replies a lot, and some of his replies might be a little broad. So there is room to make your own interpretation. But I don't think he deliberately puts up characters and then goes, just kidding. So I think he's putting it up in terms for what we'll see. But I think he's probably putting it up for a reason. Yeah. And that could change in an hour when someone says they're going to be a Wonder Twins movie. It's like, no, I just liked them. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, he has a responsibility as a co-CEO for the stuff he posts here, Michael. Do you think this is legit? Do you think this could be something that he's exploring and opening the door to? And as Shannon said, do you think this is more plausible for the Wonder Twins to show up at MOANA tomorrow than Wonder Woman?
I love the phrase, as a co-CEO, he has a responsibility of these comic book pictures. Listen, he can do whatever the fuck he wants. It all comes out in the wash down the road. If he trolled us every day and posted pictures and we never saw the light of day of those characters, eventually we would all turn on him and be like, you're a garbage person. But other than that, there's no repercussions. He can post any picture he wants. That being said, taking a step back to the Dr. Fate thing, I do think, because I know this is going to happen in 6 months, I can feel it. I have not heard a Dr. Fate rumor or whatever his exact quote was.
It was I've never heard a Dr. Fate rumor. Yeah, that's what he said.
I never heard a Dr. Fate rumor. Is like Bill Clinton saying, can you please define the word is, when he was on the stand with Monica Lewinsky. It's one of those things where you're like, I have never heard a Dr. Fate rumor. Did I read one? Maybe. Have I developed a Dr. Fate script? Possibly, but I have not heard this rumor. So I'm just saying, when we get to this 6 months from now and Dr. Fate is all of a sudden in some project and you whip this up and say he lied, I'm going to be like, he technically didn't. We'll see. But yeah, with the Wonder Twins, I actually agree with Shannon. I think it might still count in the broadest definition as trolling. I think Zack Snyder and James Gunn both love the attention they get on social media, but they have different ways of trolling. Zack Snyder trolls in his way, and James Gunn just posts pictures with no context. But thus far, when he posted a picture of Grant Morrison's All-Star Superman, eventually we were like, we get it. When we had a bunch of pictures of Lex Luthor and Superman, a week later, we're like, yep, that's the movie. So does that mean the Wonder Twins are going to show up in MOANA tomorrow? Possibly. Does that mean we now have a Wonder Twins project in active development? Does that mean the Wonder Twins are going to be in this Teen Titans movie if it happens? Like, there's lots of places they could show up, but the Wonder Twins as characters definitely fit the vibe of the current DC universe. So us seeing them sooner rather than later in some project is, I would say, like a 98%.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it feels.
My gosh. Do you think Gleek is one of the monkeys that escaped from the Pocket universe?
One of the typing monkeys? That's very
funny. By the way, that's very funny.
And the Wonder Twins might even be in one of the cages. Like, the Wonder Twins could possibly be in one of the cages. That is very, very possible.
Well, and also I think we do this thing. We do it with all the projects. Oh, it's based on Salvation Run. This is a planet of villains. Salvation Run is where they're sticking all metahumans. Like, I think there's a good chance Hawk Girl is getting thrown into this planet, like, because of what she did in the Superman movie. So the Wonder Twins being metahumans, like two twins with metahuman abilities that just get thrown. I mean, I think that the movie's going to be a lot more. It's not going to be we go to this planet and it's the Joker and Lex Luthor and all these people. It's going to be a lot more. We are dumping all metahumans here. Right. And so villains and heroes are both on the table.
I mean, and that makes me think that maybe Barda is even more of a push. She could be the one there as well, which could be interesting. Maybe leading a rebellion, which would be, and maybe that's where she meets Mr. Miracle. I don't know. If you want to mess with stuff, we'll see. All right, let's move out of DC and let's move on to this. Michael, we definitely got to get your thoughts on this, and Shannon as well, of course. You animation gurus. We had the first teaser trailer for MOANA that dropped the live action version of the animated film. It dropped. A lot of people saw this trailer. A lot of people wanted to see this trailer, but we didn't get that trailer. This is the one we got. So, Michael, your thoughts? Did this pass the muster? Was this worth it? Did you get enough out of this minute teaser trailer to get you excited for the live action version?
Oh, I got enough out of this 1 minute trailer to know that I don't want to see this movie.
Okay.
Like most of the internet, my reaction was quite the same as what most people's responses are on Twitter. we talk about this all the time. It's a broken record every time these movies come up, but the entire Disney, I was in New York, so I was staying with my little brother, and our good buddy Paul Beswick was staying with us as well. And the three of us watched this trailer together, and we actually discussed it. And so when it comes to the Disney live action movies, economically, this makes sense. Like, aside from the occasional Snow White that comes out and like Snow White came out and tanked, but then Lilo and Stitch came out and made $1 billion. Like, these movies are like printing money for Disney. Like, let's take this beloved story, let's do it in a new version, let's get it out there, and nostalgia is going to drive people in. So from a business standpoint, I get why we keep doing them. I understand it. This one, because it is the most recent, like, of all of the Disney live action movies that have come out, this was actually in theaters most recently, and the sequel was out a year ago. So it feels a little soon for this one. And then on top of that, this is The Lion King all over again. Like, that trailer was literally the animated movie, but in CG. Like, the Kakamora look exactly. Hey, hey, the rooster is not a live action rooster. That's the cartoon rooster, just in CG. Like, this trailer is so blatantly exactly what we've seen already that it's just kind of gross.
Okay.
Like, it just bothers me. And I say this as someone who loves Moana. I think Moana is top tier Disney movie. And even though Moana 2 is not good, like, by the end of that movie, I was like, I like this place. I'd go to a Moana 3. I'd be in. Like, I like these characters. But this, I just think this is going to go down the Snow White road to me.
Oh, wow. Shannon, your thoughts on this teaser trailer? Are you as adamant against it as your animation compatriot here, Michael Vogel?
Because I do like Moana. Do I have as many Moana screenings under my belt as I did with Lion King when I saw the live action Lion King? Nowhere near. I mean, I watched the Lion King a lot. So, I mean, the trailer was exactly what I thought it was going to be, in that you have this great song. And it's the visuals that, yes, are very near, are very close to the animated visuals. I don't think this will go down the Snow White route.
Do you think it's just so popular that people are going to go anyway?
Yep. Yeah. Because even though, as you already said, Mikey, like Moana 2, that was not a great movie. It still made a truckload of money. Yeah. And because they're releasing it right in the middle of summer, I think this one makes a lot of money. Does it make $1 billion?
You're probably right.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But there was nothing in it that I disliked, but I don't disagree with Mike that is this, I mean, what, Moana came out in 2016? Like, this is a quick turnaround for what they have done in the past.
Yeah, I come in from a different angle than you two. I've only seen Moana twice, maybe animated. So I come from, and by the way, I'm more of the people who are going to go see this movie than the people who've seen it a million times.
I think I saw Moana twice opening weekend.
There you go. Yes, of course. I'm more of the casual in its approach. I liked this trailer. I thought it was great. I thought the animation of the CG was fine. You'd be foolish. I mean, PETA's not going to let you choke an actual rooster, for God's sake. So you're going to have to make some concessions. The song choice, you're right, Shan. They picked the right song choice. Kind of lifted my spirits, got me excited to see it. But I was disappointed that they did not show The Rock in his full facial, like all of it. They didn't show. They showed just little snippets or from behind or whatever. I was in his whatever he says. I thought that was a bit of a cop out, to be honest with you. It's a teaser. Get people excited for it. Show him and let us have some fun with it. And so for me, it was good for what it accomplished, which is, this feels like they're going to have a lot of fun with it. I think this is definitely in the $1 billion range for sure. I don't think it's a Snow White at all. And so I'm going to be excited to see more of this trailer and see what we're going to get from the film. But yeah, this did nothing to make me not want to see the movie. So,
it made me, I mean, look here to your rooster point. Yes, you make concessions, but you do it in the opposite direction. Like, again, Kenneth Branagh's Cinderella, which was the first major live action.
Do you, Michael? Because Lion King made $1.6 billion. So what's your evidence that you should go in the other direction?
This was the conversation that I was having with my brother and Paul, which was
the other geek.
Yeah, these movies make $1 billion. I'm not saying don't make them. Like, as an animation purist, would I love it if we just said, "Good, dude, Disney, Go make new original live action movies. Give me the next Mary Poppins. Give me the next Bedknobs and Broomsticks. Give me the next Old Yeller. Like, go down that road. But I understand why we do it. I'm not arguing you can't do it. It's not okay. Not Old Yeller. Shut up, Shannon.
That was a really bad example.
Old Yeller was a rough. Hey, Old Yeller is a beloved movie.
Finish this point, but
So it's the same as the Transformers argument. It's the same as the Jurassic Park argument. When you have a franchise that you churn out these movies and people are going to show up, someone standing up and saying you shouldn't do this is stupid. It's bad business. But can you do it and make something that stands on its own as like, oh, this is different? Like, give me, and the reason I always bring up Kenneth Branagh's Cinderella is it wasn't $1 billion movie, but it did really well. And it was a completely new story. Yes, you had mice. They didn't really talk. Yes, you had Lucifer the cat, but it was just a real cat. You didn't do every scene from the classic Cinderella. Cate Blanchett got to be her own kind of wicked stepmother. And I think that Disney in general does better when they do those. Now, you could say, did they do better than the $1 billion that Lion King made? And yes, that is an argument. But I also think there's a better version of the live action Lion King they could have done.
oh, sure.
And I don't know what that is exactly, but there's something different they could have done. And because it's Lion King, it still would have made $1 billion. I think there's a better, and I'm just basing this on the 90-second trailer, there is a better version of a live action Moana out there. And because it's Moana, it still makes $1 billion. So I'm not arguing don't do it, but I do think the more that we do these shot-for-shot remakes, it's just very soulless and cinematically devoid of merit to me.
It's a mixed bag, isn't it? Because you have like Pete's Dragon and Jungle Book. You could argue those are damn good live action remakes, but they didn't come anywhere close to what Lion King did, or even what Lilo and Stitch just did, which was, to a lot of people who reviewed it, an uninspired live action version of the animated film. So
I will give Lilo, but I'll give Lilo and Stitch. I think if you didn't like Lilo and Stitch, I understand why. I get what you felt about it. But as someone who knows the animated Lilo and Stitch backwards and forwards, I'll give the new Lilo and Stitch credit that it did some things different. It made some changes. I don't think all those changes worked. And I think there's things that I would have done differently, but at least it wasn't a shot-for-shot carbon copy remake. It actually did kind of have its own vibe and its own sort of decisions that they made in the way they told the story. They did change enough that it falls into that category of, okay, I'll give you this one.
Right.
But this Moana one, man, the trailer just seems like it feels very cut and paste to me.
Well, and I think that brings up something interesting as well, because when you look at the success that the live action How to Train Your Dragon had, which I did not think that was, I think that was another pretty close shot for shot animated remake or a live action remake. And granted, did they change a few things? Sure. Are they then going to do, like, the sequel is in development? Is it pretty much just going to be How to Train Your Dragon 2? So if Moana comes out, makes $1 billion, are they just going to do Moana 2? Like, I think it paints a road forward that is not that exciting.
But like, and you know, you brought up Transformers. I've had this actual conversation in real life at one of the Transformers movie premieres. Like, I was like, the movie came out and I was at the after party, and one of the top level executives at Hasbro was like, well, what do you think about that? And I said, I don't think we should hire Michael Bay to make any more Transformers movies. And he said exactly what you said. And he said, really? Because the last two made $1 billion. And I was like, still hurts the brand. Long term, this is not good. Do I think we should make Transformers movies? 100%. Are these making the brand stronger? They're not. Like, so I have a weird look as a Disney fan. I want to go see every Disney thing. I'm a Disney nerd. I'm gonna be a Disney nerd till I die. But I just wish there was a better one than this. Maybe I'll be wrong. I don't think I will be.
I don't think it hurt the brand at all, by the way, but that's
long term.
You guys, I know you guys live in that place that hate the Transformers.
It's the same as it did hurt the brand. It hurt the brand to the point that there was a point where every kid in the world was buying an Optimus Prime, and now kids don't buy Optimus Prime.
Yeah, he ran out of Optimus time.
Oh, no. By the way, I love that Michael is creating an East Coast Geek Buddies, like East Coast Avengers over there with fucking Daniel and Paul. I love it.
But I can't have a conversation. I can't have a conversation with my brother and my friend.
Two other guys we watched the trailer and talked about it. That sounds very similar to the blueprint that we've created.
If you want to check out our conversation, please check out geekpals.com.
Nerd buddies. Yeah, it's like the Jerry Seinfeld episode where Elaine gets a whole new version of her friends.
Every city I go to, I just walk into some comic book shop and say, I'm assembling a team.
Give me a gay guy and a straight guy. Let's go. All right. Let's move into our reviews. We had Welcome to Derry, episode 4 here, the great swirling apparatus of planets function. Oh my, do that title insist upon itself. Directed by Andrew Bernstein. This one written by Helen Shang. And we went to quite a few places. The kids there confronting that the entity, as it's being called there, did not attack them, did not kill them, but certainly is trying to put the fear of God in them. They try to talk about what to do next, where they can go next with this stuff, and who they can talk to. Lily ends up talking to Madeline Stowe, that character there. Ingrid tells her about the situation and all that, and she insists that they go forward and friends can make it all happen. We find out more about what's going on here in this situation here with Rose and Charlotte having a conversation about what happened in Derry. And Charlotte's the one that goes and confronts James Remar's character there about what's going on. He tries to assure about all this situation, about what's going on there with Plant. We also have Halloran getting deeper into his powers and his connection with the entity and what that leads us to. And poor Will is really the one that gets taken to the ringer throughout this whole episode here. His mom, dealing with the visions that he's seeing. His dad is actually on his side, what happens there in the water, and then later with the tree outside. Poor Marge has her eyes bulging out, and Lily is framed for the attack there as the entity comes from Marge. But we go all the way back in time to find out the origins of the outer space origins of this entity that will be Pennywise and how they dealt with it back in those days. So Shannon, I go to you first. What are your thoughts about this episode? What worked for you? What didn't work for you as we go into our review here?
So I've missed the last couple of weeks just because of scheduling. Yes. The end of the previous episode where the kids are being chased by the ghosts, I was so into that episode until that moment because I was like, oh, this really feels like Ghostbusters 2 right now. And I'm like, I feel like there was a better, more frightening way to accomplish this scene without relying so heavily on visual effects. Like at the moment that we see that brief glimpse of Pennywise's hand before Will takes the picture, I'm like, that was the scariest part. Going to the beginning of this one where the kids show up at the police station and they're showing the photos and the whole idea that the adults are kind of clouded to the more supernatural aspects of Derry, I forgave that sequence a little bit. I was kind of like, okay, like, I don't know if that was the intended effect. It probably wasn't. This is just more a me thing. But this episode, I thought this show is getting very, very good.
Yeah.
I love all of the individual storylines. I love everything with Dick Halloran. I love everything with the Hamlin family. For the most part, the kids are the thing that holds me back.
Wow.
And is specifically, it's Lily and Ronnie.
What?
Who I think they are not great. I think the young actors playing Will and Rich are so good that it kind of only highlights how so Lily and Ronnie are. I mean, and that's the big thing. And I know you guys both disagree with me, but that's kind of the thing that holds the show back. I think the young performer who's playing Marge, I think she is great.
Oh, she's good. Yeah.
It's mainly Lily and Ronnie that I think kind of hold the show back, and a lot emotionally hangs on their stories and the fact that Lily has been to a mental hospital before, and that there's that dangling thread of like she might have to go back at some point. Everything with Ronnie and her dad, like there's so much emotional weight that they're having to carry. I don't feel like they're quite getting there. Wow. Now with what Will has to deal with in this episode, getting pulled under the water and seeing like confronting his fear. But also the moment where he lowers his telescope and you see that shot of Pennywise outside of his house, and the way that affects Joe Venedepo, his dad. I mean, everything about the show, I am really, really enjoying. It's just those two little things that are keeping it from being a great show right now.
I'd like to apologize on behalf of the show to Clara Stack and Amanda Christine, who played Lily and Ronnie. I 2 out of the 3 of us enjoyed their performances. Michael, your thoughts on this episode? Did you like this episode? Did you like where we ended up? This crossover into the It House by the end, Halloran fighting the It House. What are your thoughts on this episode?
I mean, I think Shannon hates children as much as Pennywise does. Yeah, like I said, this show continues to get better and better to me. I think this show is fantastic and almost like forgives It Chapter 2 to me. Like, if It Chapter 2 is the thing that sits between It Chapter 1 and this series, as Muschietti continues to build out his version of the Derry universe, I'm kind of okay with it because I am loving everything that's happening so much. I agree. I don't disagree with Shannon, and I know you said the same thing about the ghost last week. Ghostbusters 2 is an apt example. I think those scares don't work, and I think where this show is most successful is when scares are a little bit more implied or you build to that reveal. Yeah. And I think when you stay on any visual effect for more than a few minutes, it ceases to become scary and it becomes more of a visual effect. And so I don't disagree with that, but I think that the way that they've really captured the vibe of Derry, where every adult is just a little bit wrong or a little bit off. Like, just things are constantly just not quite right. That's way more unsettling than any of the special effects they show. So with the kids going to the police and everything that happens there, through every encounter with an adult throughout the series. And I love, even though these kids are going to go down whatever road they go down, like watching them slowly put these pieces together, knowing that previously, before the kids that ultimately defeat Pennywise, these other kids weren't just victims that got killed, that they were also going on the same journey, figuring out that it feeds on fear, figuring out what's going on, trying to figure out how to stop him, how to prevent him. I just think that story's going really well. But I really think the story with Halloran and the military and the indigenous people is where the show really shines. Like, if the show had just been the kids doing their thing, you sort of go, okay, every season we're going to have a new group of kids. They're going to try and defeat Pennywise. They're going to fail. That's going to be a thing. But I think the added, the military is into this, and then getting really into the indigenous people and getting that backstory about it, which differs a little bit from the book, but really kind of gives you a lot more context to why is this thing localized to Derry? Why is it only here? Why hasn't Pennywise spread out beyond that? I think is what makes the show the most compelling to me, that it's not just retreading the Stephen King story, but it's actually taking different threads and adding to them, or in some ways improving on them.
Yeah, I will say, though, I think I enjoyed the episode, but I think this wasn't as strong as some of the other episodes from the first 3 episodes that we got. I think it was a little bit less strong. But that being said, I did like that we went all the way back to the Native American, to the indigenous people, as you want to say, Michael, the indigenous origins of this thing, where it came from, how the indigenous people dealt with it, how this girl kept going back into the woods because she knew they had to do something. And that has been like the theme throughout with it. No matter what generation it is, from the beginning, there has been a young person who wants to stop this thing, who understands the power of this thing and wants to find a way to stop it, has the guts to stop it. And I kind of love that they kept that tradition by going all the way back to show its origin. It is a young girl who's the one that's trying to stop this thing, and does in the end with her move. So I appreciated that as well. I agree with you, Shannon. I love what's going on with the Hanlon family, where we're going. I love that Charlotte was like, I'm going to send a bunch of freedom riders down here if you don't do what I tell you to do. So putting that in a proper time context, an understanding of the power of freedom riders at that time and what they could do and the whole situation. So I appreciated that was an element of it as well. And we find out that Hank was sleeping with a white woman. So that's why he was hiding it, because he didn't want to have any kind of issues with that. So how is that going to play itself out when that gets discovered? So the fact that they're dealing with real world horror or terror, so to speak, along with this kind of entity and this metaphysical or fantastical approach to horror as well, I think works well. They're mixing both really well. Yeah. I agree with you, Michael. The military stuff is super important. And Halloran's thing, and Halloran and Jovan Adepo, his character, what he's slowly coming to terms with. You mentioned last episode, Shannon, his conversation on the porch with Halloran about Halloran's ability to go into his mind. Now he's got this thing with, now he sees what Will is going through, and he sees the marks on Will's arms. He sees the red balloon out on the tree. Like, he knows something bigger is happening here. So how is that going to affect him as this gets deeper and deeper and deeper, his connection with Halloran and his confrontations with this thing, with this entity, and what it's doing to his son? So I'm very curious. And also, sorry, Mike, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was just say on that front, I mean, the other thing that's really interesting, I mean, we've already discussed how Leroy Hanlon, you know, is the man without fear, literally, like has this thing in his brain. But this was a pretty big deal with what happened with Will. I mean, what happened to Will is super scary because seeing your burned dad in the water grabbing you is really, like, I'm not going to lie to you. I was watching this episode on the plane yesterday as I was flying back from New York City, and Paul and the poor woman sitting next to me both jumped when I literally almost jumped out of my chair when he got pulled underwater. But like, you know, Pennywise famously says, "You'll float too," but to Will, he says, "You'll burn too."
Yeah.
And if you read the books, like, Will and his wife, who may or may not be Ronnie down the road, are both going to die in a fire caused by Pennywise in the future. So that kind of adds a little bit more weight to that moment. But the bigger deal in terms of this series is that his dad sees stuff.
Yes.
You know, particularly in an episode where the police at the very beginning either can't or won't see, you know, that Pennywise or the entity has the people of Derry so under his spell, you could say, that they're just never going to see stuff and only the kids do, which makes the kids even feel more isolated. But in this case, he sees that red balloon. And he sees it again outside the house. Like, he can see the stuff that the other adults don't see.
Yeah.
And that combined with Halloran's ability to, you know, having the shine and being able to really like sense these things and see these things, like the two of them together and how that story progresses is, you know, we know that Halloran is eventually going to get out of there and go work at a motel or go work at a hotel. But you know, I think that's going to be really, really interesting to see how those stories wrap up as well this season.
Yeah, and I like the added element of the Mean Girl stuff with Marge and Lily and those girls. Again, real world terror mixed, because that's what it feels like for a young girl at the time. That's real world terror to want to fit in, to be like in this place between both. You know, what's that like? And Lily, of course, hates that she's hated, but she's got bigger things to worry about. Marge is
like Shannon's opinion of her.
Marge is more focused on, you know, trying to survive a middle school and as best that she can with a friend who is sliding into the uncool territory when she's so desperate to be cool. So I like that you've got these real world elements grounding the show along with all this other fantastical stuff, you know. And I mentioned Halloran and Leroy, but also what's Charlotte's role to play in all of this? Because Charlotte is no wallflower. And I like that she is like putting things there. She's confronting, she's going to a military guy who is her husband's boss. Or I'm sorry, she's going to the chief of police rather to confront him about what's going on with it, because she's going to eventually going to go after James Remar. In my opinion, I think that confrontation is absolutely coming down the road as well. So there's a gutsiness to her that I appreciate for a black character at this time. I was
going to say, one of the things that really struck me, and it strikes me as a white guy watching the show, is when you deal with stories that take place in this era, so many of the movies that we see deal with the powerlessness that the black community feels. And so you see whenever that white guy comes in and starts like, you know, doing his white guy thing, you got to put your head down. You've got to avoid, it's all about avoiding the confrontation. So seeing a character like Charlotte walk right into that police station and standing up to literally anybody, it really struck me. Like, it's something that you actually don't see as often in popular culture stuff, TV and movies. And I really liked it a lot. Like, I really like you, to your point, it really gives her character such a strong standpoint to be coming from.
Yeah. I mean, civil rights didn't happen because, you know, white people allowed it to. Black people were pushing.
Yeah, no, it's exactly.
White people got on board with it because of what they saw.
Shannon, I was going to say one thing about the character of Charlotte. I mean, the way we are introduced to her sort of inner protector is it had nothing to do with it was a white kid who was getting bullied.
Yes.
It was a powerless person being taken advantage of.
Yeah, great point.
And she would not sit idly by and watch that happen. It is really interesting in terms of the characters of Shaw and Bowers, because I think I love James Remar. I don't know the playing the police chief. I don't know his name off the top of my head. I do think it's funny that they are so similar in type.
Yeah.
That is one casting choice that was made that I'm like, I would hate to have denied either of these guys a job, but I'm like, they're so similar that we tend to get them mixed up.
That's a great. I just got them mixed up, so that's a great point, Shannon. Yeah, my head went to one, which is actually the other one I meant to allude to. Let's finish with this conversation right at the end. Halloran appears in front of a young Tennille, asking him how to find the shards, and Tennille leads him to follow the tunnel, or tells him to follow the tunnels under the old well, and it leads to the reveal of the old house there, the Neibold house. So what was the point of that? Where are we going with that? It isn't just to show the It house. What else is happening here? What do we do with the shards that are alluded to in the indigenous section of this episode?
One of the things from the It movies is that house, the movie, that house is in the books.
Yes.
But I believe, and I might be wrong about this, but I don't think I am. It's been a while since I read the books, but in the movies, Muschietti kind of like centralized that house a lot more.
Yeah.
Like that house is the center of all things that you can get to everything through. And that's how you get to Pennywise. And like the house is a bigger deal in the movies. And so now seeing however these shards were placed and where it's all centralized and how it all connects to this house and why Pennywise, that's sort of the center of where he is. You go down that well and that's where the sewer system sort of spreads out to all of Derry, which is how he sort of travels around. Seeing how this is all going to connect back to the backstory that we got, I think is going to be really, really interesting because this is that area where you're taking elements of the Stephen King book, but then you're really adding your own sauce to it. And so it's going to be really exciting to see. But the other thing I think we should talk about, I wanted to get Shannon's thoughts on the house, but Madeline Stowe's character.
Yeah.
She ain't just a friendly orderly, I don't think.
No, of course not. Ingrid's connected to this 1000%. And the fact that she knows about kids disappearing in the 30s, but doesn't think it's necessarily the Pennywise connection, she experienced this and maybe survived.
I think more than that, I think there are a lot of rumors going on. Like she might be not Pennywise's daughter, but we've seen lots of photos, and even in the upcoming season, we see the photos of the guy who runs the carnival. Yeah. Who is Skarsgård. Not that he is it. The entity is, has been there for much longer. But where did the entity kind of land on this Pennywise form?
Yeah.
And why is that the entity's favorite form? And the backstory of this guy and his daughter, some people are even saying that the female clown that we saw at the beginning of the last episode might be Madeline Stowe, that she might be that daughter. And there's other things about her, but like that she is sort of central to this backstory that's going to unfold about how Pennywise decided on the Pennywise form. So I think that's going to be really interesting to watch as well.
You don't cast Madeline Stowe and give her an ancillary role.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Shannon, what are your thoughts on the house and who Ingrid might be in this whole thing?
I mean, I love the grounding ability that the house to do to kind of be that connective tissue between what we've got and what we're getting. And my guess is, like, again, at the end of this series, Pennywise wins. Like, he keeps going. But my guess is that the kids are going to have some small victory, and whether or not that means that the pillars remain in place or something like the kids will, again, they will have some sort of win by the end of this. Because, when we get to the movies, I mean, Pennywise does still travel through the sewers. Yeah. So I feel like the shards aren't going to be moved, but also, Mikey, correct me if I'm wrong here. What they use in the slingshot, is it part of one of those shards?
That I don't remember. Not in the book, I don't think. The shards are not in the book. Like, I think that's more of like for the movie and for the story that they're building out. Right. But I mean, we do know that, like, we know at least Will survives.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, Will's making it out. Will does get married, have a kid. Maybe Ronnie survives. Like, a couple of these kids are going to make it out. And I think that's going to be at least the thing that makes this have a somewhat better ending.
But in terms of Madeline Stowe, I mean, I love the theory that she is potentially like the carnival owner's daughter, and seeing this awful entity assume the form of your father and you not really being able to tell the difference. Like, what does that do to someone's psyche? Right. Like, does it fully break him? Is he able to conscript her into service? Because every time she's talking to Lily, it's like, I don't trust a thing this woman is saying.
But also, we've never seen her talk to anybody else but Lily.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Is this just another mask that Pennywise is wearing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoa.
And
Like-
she tells her, go, you can do anything. Go with your friends. Bring your friends along.
Yeah,
Like,
everything she's saying is very, go check this out. Go do like I don't even know that she's real.
I think that's a fair thing to consider. Absolutely.
The one thing I just wanted to say before we jumped over to Pluribus was just on the special effects thing, because we talk about like when you don't show something, it's scary. When you do show something, it's not scary. But a really good example of doing both is what happened to poor Marcia at the end of this episode.
I mean, come on now.
Because the eyeballs bulging and kind of googling eyeing, like that shot. I mean, that shot was horrifying.
Yeah.
But then when they're just sort of hanging out, again, after you've watched something for a few seconds and your body and mind adjust to it, it's not scary anymore.
Right.
So her kind of going around with the googly eyes and freaking out, I was like, this is really gross and whatever, but I'm not scared.
Right.
When she runs into that shop, and wants to get those things off so badly,
right?
And you and your brain are like, I know what I'm watching, but I also know what's kind of really happening here. The ending of this episode was so horrific. Like it was like the whole vibe. Like I was crawling out of my seat on the plane watching it, and then when Lily came in to stop her, kind of going, "Oh fuck,
yeah,
I know exactly how this is going to end," and then it ends that way. I just thought. That's the have your cake and eat it too. Because when we watch these things, we want to see the gross stuff.
Right. Let's not talk about eating cake right now.
But you know, like you want to see the gross, creepy thing. But once you've seen it for a few minutes, it's not scary. And this was a great example of I got the weird special effect thing, but also what was actually happening was the true horror.
Right. The table saw moment. Yeah, absolutely. Woof. I wonder how the anti-anxiety pills are going to be involved.
Yeah.
I mean, the last thing you want to do is give kids drugs to be doing this stuff in dealing with the things they're dealing with. You know, at least I'm not a fan of it.
But by the way, I literally was like, is this a good idea or a bad? Like, would this work? Like, does this work? Like, I mean,
nowadays are taking all kinds of anti-anxiety drugs nowadays to deal with life. So I wonder what that is when you actually have a entity coming after you, what that feels like. You know?
What I liked about and getting out of the messaging of whether it's a good idea or not, in terms of in the universe in that era, if I was a kid, that's exactly what the fuck I would do. Like when you're a kid and you're like, this thing is going to feed on me being scared. How do I not be scared? Like I thought that was a pretty. As a kid, I'm like, yep, that's fucking smart.
Yeah, and the kids are coming to that realization that this thing wants to scare us, not necessarily. It wants to like play with us, like where it's food until it kills us.
Yeah,
and so that.
And when you look at that trailer for the back half of the season, we've only seen hints and bits of Pennywise, but this back half of the season is clown heavy.
Shout out to our friend Dave Rapp. All right, let's move on to Pluribus episode 3. This one here, directed by Gordon Smith. So not directed by Vince Gilligan this time around, written by Gordon Smith as well. We're dealing with quite some interesting stuff going on with our main character here, with what she is experiencing. We see her coming back from that meeting with all the the ones that can speak English. That was not a successful meeting for Carol. But we also go back 7 years before the quote unquote the joining, which is what they're calling it now. And we see them at an ice hotel, her and Helen at an ice hotel. We get a nice sample of how Helen is the happier one, and Carol is the big time grump, no matter where they're at, which proves the adage, you can go wherever you want in the world. Your problems are going to go with you. And then we go back to what's going on here with her and her confrontations about everything that's happening and how they're trying to please her. We have stuff that goes on with the grocery store. She's uncomfortable that they want to fill. She just wants normalcy, some semblance of normalcy. They even try to introduce her to one of the people that doesn't speak English, and they exchange some pretty harsh words in Spanish between each other on the phone there. But then we get the real interesting moments in the episode for me, and that's the grenade conversation that she has with Josiah, who did not go to Vegas, by the way. Josiah here having the back and forth about a grenade all the way up to a nuclear weapon, and the grenade actually went off. It actually is a legitimate grenade. So there's conversations now about whether they would give her a nuclear weapon or not, and what that would all lead to, because they say they would move heaven and earth to make her happy. So Michael, what did you think of this episode? Did this one work for you, and how we're going further and further into Carol's dealing with her new reality?
Well, I think the most realistic thing about this episode
Yes.
was in an apocalypse where you feel very isolated, you will binge the Golden Girls.
You gotta laugh. You gotta
Listen.
laugh. Yeah.
If I had only one show that I could watch to make me feel better and all y'all were mind wiped by some kind of entity, chances are Golden Girls would probably be it. Although it was interesting because the one clip they did show, the first clip she was watching was Rose telling the story about that woman in St. Olaf who had no smile muscles and was always frowning and then just stood on her head so that because a frown is just a smile upside down, which I do think is very apropos to Carol's journey.
Perspective.
As you said at the top, like this doesn't really count as a geek show. It is a genre show. It is sort of sci-fi, but God, I just love this show so much. Because it does what sci-fi does best, which is this presents a moral quandary in the most unique way that I don't know the right answer. Carol, as you saw in the flashback with her and Helen at that ice hotel, seems like she almost has a psychological need to be unhappy.
Yes.
So whether it was the first episode where she is being beloved by her fans and she doesn't want it. Now she is in this gorgeous ice hotel with the northern lights above her and she is not happy. Yeah. She finds out that her book is on the top 20 bestseller list and wants to know if it's closer to 11 or closer to 20. There is no making her happy. And she is now in a situation where the billions of people that are still remaining on Earth want nothing more than to just make her happy. And so on the one hand, you go, God, maybe I would be like that other guy who just got Air Force One. You know, like let's lean into it. These people want to make me happy. Let them make me happy. But that doesn't feel right. And when you get to the end of this episode where you get into so can I have a bazooka? Can I have a tank? Can I have an atom bomb?
An atom bomb. Yeah.
And you're like, I feel like we would want to caution you against nuclear holocaust, but ultimately, sure. And it gets into that revelation from the second episode where they let all these animals out of the zoo and let themselves get mauled.
Yeah.
Like their desire to please is at the expense of their own self-preservation. And Carol's desire to be unhappy is at odds with their desire to do anything. And, like Carol's whole monologue with Rocha about what does it feel like to be you? Is it coffee that tastes like coffee is it on the beach? Is it this whole thing? Like, and Zosha's just smiling. You're like, these people are clearly happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But are they really people anymore? Like whatever, like the whole back and forth. I love the conversations. I love every bit of it. I thought everything that happened at that Sprouts was hilarious. And I don't know what Vince Gilligan's point is yet. I don't know where we land on this thing. And I think that is what I'm most fascinated about, to watch this thing happen each week and not go, yeah, well, obviously this is the right answer. Like, how do we get there? That'll be fun to see. But I don't know. I don't know where we land.
Yeah, what'd you think, Shannon, of this one? I mean, we also got Carol saying that I'd like you guys to stop referencing Helen's memories because I want those to be mine. I don't need you guys to be thinking for me. And this is something she had touched on in previous episodes as well. This idea that they have Helen's memories and what they can give to her because Carol, she hasn't even had the chance to grieve Helen, really, because she's been thrust into this new reality. So what do you think about how she progresses through this episode? Again, as Michael said, which I think is really important, how do you make someone happy who is just biologically unhappy? That seems like a difficult road. And they keep telling her, we don't know when it's going to happen, but we're determined to make you happy. What are your thoughts on this episode?
Well, and their version of happiness is her being sort of brought into the hive. I mean, it's not like they want her to be happy right now, but my guess is, like, looking at the other English speakers that we meet in episode 2, it's like you have a mom, you have the guy who was on Air Force One, you have, I believe it was another married gentleman. My guess, it's like these were the most unhappy people in the world, and that's why this thing didn't work.
That's a great point, Shannon. Hadn't even thought of that.
And the mom suddenly has a loving family. The guy, I'm assuming, has a loving wife.
Yeah.
And the other guy now has access to Air Force One and can have sex with whoever he wants.
Yeah.
But Carol had a good life. Like, she was a best-selling author. Was she writing what she wanted to write? No. But she also had this North Star of Helen, who is the one thing that kind of kept her from truly going off the deep end. So that's kind of my theory right now. And the guy who is in Paraguay, who one of the funniest moments, like, again, just like looking at Carol's logic of like, all right, where are the other people who don't speak English? And like going down the list, and you finally get to a country that speaks Spanish. And it's like, well, she lives in New Mexico. Chances are she might know a little bit of Spanish. Like, looking at the way that she logically kind of figures things out. This is just such a fascinating show to watch. Yeah. But also, Rhea Seehorn is so good. Like, watching this rage bubbling underneath the surface, and it is slowly starting to come out, even though she knows if it does come out, potentially I am going to be the cause of millions of people dying. Yeah. This is just such an enjoyable show to watch. It is so Vince Gilligan. I am so happy that this show exists. I mean, between this and Welcome to Derry, Pluribus is superior because, you know, it doesn't have kid actors. But this and Welcome to Derry, and Welcome to Derry.
In the last episode,
this and Welcome to Derry are just such a great 1-2 punch of
it's
television viewing right now.
Yeah, true. I am such a fan of shows that challenge you intellectually. What, as Michael said it earlier, what is the point of this? Where are we going? Now, some shows do that and you're just frustrated by them, right? No, this one is endlessly interesting and intriguing and has you wondering, what would you do in that moment? What is the truth of here? Shannon, you kind of unlocked something for me by saying these are probably the most unhappiest people on the planet. And that's why
I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, that's why their assimilation didn't work. So now that gives me a whole new angle to look at this show, maybe even rewatch the 3 episodes and see it through that prism and see why. Because you look at the relationships, they seem to be happy. Even the woman with her family, her aunts, like, was she unhappy because she was always trying to please her aunts and they were not, they always berated her like Cinderella, and now her aunts are with her and she's happy. So this is a really interesting way to look at it that turns it on its head. Carol as well with Helen, like, Helen did everything to make Carol happy, and it still wasn't enough because Carol has such a deep well of insecurity about herself. She may hate what she's writing, but she still wants what she's writing to be near the top of the bestseller list, not near the bottom. So even that scene in the first episode where you see her having Helen, without telling her, move her books to the top of that thing in the bookstore in the airport. So these are these situations that you're looking at here, and you're like, okay, where are we going with all of this? But having these existential discussions about how far you're willing to go to please me, that's interesting as well. And we see Josiah, a version of Josiah, die again when she collapses after the grenade. So there are ramifications. And I think it's great that the show isn't making Carol go, oh, I'll do a 180 now all of a sudden. No, she is constantly put in the situation where her anger gets the best of her and people are dying, and she's still not learning the lesson because she still hasn't kind of put this together in her mind. And we're watching this, having the same, going on the same journey as well. So yeah, endlessly intriguing, this show.
That's who she is on a chemical level.
Yeah, exactly.
She's an unhappy person.
I also, I know I'm the one that has a heart out, but I'm still going to say this point. So this is on me. But to Shannon's point, I hadn't thought of what Shannon said about those people being unhappy and now being like in much better situations. But I also was thinking a lot about that Sprout scene. And I do think one of the things that this show is about is how connected are we and how connected are we not? Like, we now have this the entire world is now connected except for Carol and these others. But Carol says this thing. She goes into Sprouts and she's like, I'm a very independent person. I want to do this on my own.
What normal?
So I want my Sprouts back. Yeah. And then we watch as hundreds of people show up and stock the store. And it's kind of super uncomfortable as she stands there. But then she gets to to do her shopping and get her food the way she wants.
Right.
But as I sat there and watched it, I was like, well, I can feel that. I can feel not connected and drive down to Pavilions and buy my groceries for the week. Yeah. But the reality is, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people did the farming, the driving, the delivering, they're working there. Like, I can't go to the store without those people. I am connected to those people, even if it doesn't feel like it.
Right.
And so having this moment where Carol's like, I'm going to do it on my own, but it takes all these people to stock the store. Like, there is a journey of this with not just Helen, but her fans, all the people she interacts with. Carol thinks she was isolated, but maybe we're not as isolated as we think. And also maybe being as connected as these entities is not the best, obviously. So I think it's just like every week is going to be a little bit more of these weird situations that make us sort of question the morality of what they're doing, but also, are we really as disconnected as we think we are?
Yeah, and I think there is a really on the 7th or 8th level a commentary on privilege, on her privilege.
Yeah.
Like the fact that she can get whatever she wants when she wants it, but she doesn't, but she loses the effect of it because it's so easily gotten. But she expects it. And so there's this battle within herself about, should I expect, the way they're giving it to me is not the way I want it. It's like, but you're getting it. Why does it matter how you get it? No, it has to matter how I get it. So there's commentaries about that going on as well, which I think is really fascinating. And the biological imperative, that's the thing that Josiah says that I'm like caught up in. Like, so what's this biological imperative? And will assimilating her eventually destroy them? Like the Borg, will assimilating her destroy them?
Yes.
That's going to be fascinating.
We don't want you, Carol.
Yeah, exactly. Like in the end, it may be something like that. So it'll be fascinating to see as it goes along. All right. Any final words? Are we good? Shall we wrap up there? Shannon, any final things you want to say yourself?
Nope. All good. All
right. Well, there you go. That's our episode on the Geek Buddies, our reviews of Welcome to Derry and Pluribus, our conversations on the Moana trailer and DC as well. Thank you all so much for joining us. Shannon, what do we have to tell the wonderful people?
Yeah, if you'd like to follow us on social media, on Twitter, it's at @geek_buddies, on Instagram at @the_geek_buddies. If you'd like to follow me on social media, on Twitter, it's at @Shannon_McClung, on Instagram at Shannon the Geek Buddy. If you'd like to follow Mr. Vogel, it is at MKToon. If you'd like to follow Mr. Rocha, it is at The Rocha Says.
Thank you.
Go ahead and smash that like button below. Subscribe to Johnny's John Rocha page. Check out all the amazing content he's got there. Leave your comments below. If you're listening to us on a podcast, leave us some stars and comments so we go up in the rankings and more people can find us. And as always, the best thing you can do is retweet this video, post it on your socials, send it to your friends, and tell them to hang out with your buddies, the Geek Buddies.
There you go. All right. Thank you all so much. And we'll see you next time with another brand new episode of The
Geek
Buddies.